they think, where they carry out their life, and where they don't do things, or where they only do certain things, may have a lot to do with the way the person feel what they're doing is depleting their own sense of purpose in life. And so this talk will be mainly look at how one can internally cultivate those powerful potential attributes. Buddhist teaching specifically talks about 5 things that one needs to have to cultivate what we may call power. Often people may regard themselves to be influential, to say a powerful person who has power has not only intellectual superiority, also in terms of materialistic comfort, also the kind of people we have influence upon, what kind of position we hold, and how skillful we are in dispensing our material wealth and the skill and the knowledges. These are the various, what we call, external factors that can add to our performance in society, and therefore we can feel we can help others effectively to the extent they can feel that our presence in their life has made valid contribution to their happiness. And we also might feel happier because we are able to help others to increase their capacity to do good and be happy and do wonderful things. So you can see part of our sense of purpose does depend on how much influence we have those around us, and through what we do, that we feel meaningful. Really, empowering oneself is not just for the sake of getting powerful positions and then think that you have empowered the highest offices in the country or in the state or in your office. So these are the most objects that people usually become attracted to think they are a powerful person. But there are lots of people who hold very high offices, high positions, that feel very, very inadequate with regard to their own emotions, how that they deal with their own difficulties in life. They are completely disempowered. They are like a child. They don't know what to do. So we're not talking about becoming powerful in terms of positions. We're talking about being in a safe state of consciousness by being aware of its valid benefit to ourselves. How effectively can we actually feel useful to ourselves to the extent that we have a certain confidence within ourselves, and at the same time that what we do has a great benefit to others. And therefore, what we do to others, how we influence other people, is capable of helping people to put out of certain difficult situations, which they themselves are not able to do because of their own foolishness, because of their bad associates' influence, because of their bad habits, bad doctrine they believe in, or lack of any intelligence what they have. So power, therefore, empowering oneself, therefore, is referring to inner qualities. So for this, in Buddhist teachings, it talks about 5 inner qualities to make ourselves feel meaningful and therefore powerful. Powerful meaning we're able to change circumstances and know things for what they are. And if we do not know what things are, what is the cause in order to experience this effect? We want happiness, for instance. But if you do not know the cause, that which is for the cause of happiness, then we would be creating possibly causes that are non-causes for happiness. Person may hold high office, high position, but what he or she is doing is actually non-causes of their own happiness. They may be greed for power, arrogant, and very impatient, very scattered mind, very irritable, and have certain negative habits that abuses the body. They will not know what to do. that are causes of happiness. So power here refers to power to create causes of happiness, whether it's intellectual, emotional, or spiritual, or otherwise. The Buddhist teaching talks about 5 ingredients that one needs to have this capacity. And first one is about faith. It's faith. It talks about faith as being the most important of 5 ingredients to have that power or capacity to create causes for happiness and stop causes for suffering. And have the power, therefore, to restrain oneself from creating self-induced sufferings. Ability and have the power to not affect loved ones by one's own foolish conduct and beliefs and attitudes. Have the power to help them instead, so that once as we are loved ones of theirs, that our love to us, their love to us, or vice versa, is generating mutual happiness. If a person is able to have such capacity to create all the right causes, he or she must be one who has these first ingredients of faith. Faith are 3 kinds in Buddhism. It's not talking about having faith in external things. We're talking here of inner positive qualities that empowers us to be strong and kind and wise and intelligent and have all the other qualities that goes with that. And faith here refers to, first is faith of clarity. We have to know clearly what is it that we wish to do, other than wanting happiness in life and do not want difficulties. If we clearly know what is the cause that brings happiness, we should, our clarity, our awareness of the cause of happiness would have succeeded us to create the causes for happiness readily, one after another, and therefore would have made us happy time after time, you see. So that will indicate whether we have faith of clarity or not. Clarity. Often people are not that clear. They're obscured. They seem very confused. They feel very disturbed, uncertain what they're doing, who they're living with, what they're doing with their life. Often they have lots of questions, how far they have come, is it worth going to or not going to. So the lack of that clarity in one's mind about anything, when a person is not sure about anything about a particular issue in life, that's the one aspect that it disempowers the person, because person doesn't have this lucid faith, clarity of what they want to do. For instance, in a relationship situation, or your job, or your ill health, whatever difficulty you have, if a person who doesn't have a lot of degree of clarity as what is it they can best do to resolve a situation, improve a situation, they often get stuck in themselves and often stay in that state of confusion and uncertainty, and often might seek help from someone who is more confused than themselves, and who will happy to add their confusion to theirs, and so there is a more unclarity on top of one's own, you see. And such people are disempowered indeed, not only by their own lack of clarity, but the biasness of our few friends or family might take our own side and give us the wrong advice because of their own obscurations. So often people can feel at a loss when they have no faith. It is that sense of lack of clarity. Often people feel hopeless, not wanting to do anything because they are not certain. Not doing anything makes them feel hopeless. Because of that, they feel completely disempowered. They feel the place where they are is not safe, and they even have a sense of disliking of themselves. This is because person doesn't have the lucid faith or lucid confidence in oneself, or things what one is doing, or people one is associating with, how one spends one's time or how one doesn't spend one's time. Person often has more questions about what they're doing And because of that, everything becomes a object of great insecurity. Now, the lucid faith here refers to that you got to be not thinking far too ahead. Lots of obscuration and fear and anxiety comes from thinking far too ahead, and based on the lots of difficulties of the past. When a person is thinking far too ahead, he's often doing so out of fear of repeating the past, that he didn't negotiate very well in the past. Because of that, the person is not with himself, the present. The present space time is lost. Faith of clarity is very aware of the present state of aware. A person is aware of the present state of issues, rather than lost in the fear of the future and guilt and blame about the past. When one's mind is lost in these two, guilt over the past and fear of the future, there's no clarity. There's no room for clarity and confidence as what one can do now. One is fearful of any outcome one might do, and between this fear and hope, one becomes constricted, and the mind loses its sense of confidence. So the first of these five, the faith element, particularly the first type of faith, is lucid faith. One has to be aware that we only experience what we think now. Not so much what happened in the past, not so much what will not happen in the future, but what we think about what didn't happen in the past or what did happen in the past. Why? By thinking it now affects our present capacity to think clearly. So it's not so much, most people believe what happened to them is the issue that is making them hard now. What they're thinking now about the past is affecting them now, and will affect subsequently in the future as well. So the confidence and faith I'm referring to is person needs to break from the past, because the past means finish, it means non-existent. And the present means that's only time. It's very fine between past and future. Present is very, very small, smallly wrapped, very wrapped and nice. Present comes small. If you open it, you're happy. If you have this ability to see it, have the awareness now, that is the clarity. This is what in Buddhism we emphasize meditation to develop this clarity of our mind, so that we are not stuck in the past or worry about future so much, that we know exactly what to do. Be that sitting, be that meditation, or whatever, you just try to develop that sense of presence of awareness. That is the clarity, faith of clarity. If we know exactly we should believe that I'm only experiencing what I'm thinking now, be that about the past, be that of the future. So when you have that, you can decide not to think about certain things about the future, and not to think about certain things of the past, and think about realistically important things now. So therefore you know exactly, as long as you have confidence in you, saying as long as you don't think about the past and future, you'll be fine. Oh, will I? You say yes. So it's simple. Most people don't want to do simple things, do they? They want to be powerful people. And when you have this lucid, clear faith, that kind of conscience, second type of faith is called faith of aspiration. You aspire to become like that, not just now, but also anytime you wish to aspire to be able to allow your mind to be that. It's a sense of being, knowing how to be, and you know exactly what to be. The power is a way of being. It's not a circumstances from itself. It's how we ourselves allow to be. Do you feel vulnerable? Do you feel offendable? Do you feel worried? Or do you feel happy and clear and aware of whatever you're thinking? That's the only thing you experience. So when a person aspires to have a clarity and have confidence in oneself, person is actually, that aspiration makes oneself to have certain goals, certain things what he wants to be that about one's health or one's life, relationship, work, whatever it is. For instance, in relationship, one aspires to be loving and giving rather than one aspires to be loved. one who aspires to be loved actually always suffers of not being loved. Because of the craving for wanting love. Whatever you want, you don't get it, you know. So you should actually feel like you should feel loving towards anybody, including yourself, of course. You should never be last. You should be first one that you will love, and then anybody else is a recipient of your love. So if you're loving, that is the aspiring aspect of the love. But if you aspire to be loved and treated kindly and treated gently by other people, one will never see them. Because however much person loves and gives and treats us nicely, they will never be good enough, because we're tainted by a desire. Our senses are impaired by the craving. He can't love enough. He can't love enough to make us feel adequate. So long as we are deprived of our own loving mentality, there will never be enough love from the outside that will make us feel powerful and secure and happy. So this aspiring aspect of love is not so much wanting from the other, but how much you wish to be to the other. You see? When you have so much to offer, you will not feel deprived of that. See, so you will never feel unloved when you're a loving person. Mother Teresa practiced loving kindness living in Calcutta, because she practiced lovingly with lots of faith in doing that practice. She doesn't have to check whether people loved her or not. It doesn't matter. She doesn't need to know the people. It's better that she didn't know them. So long as she had the love in which she had the confidence and faith in, it didn't really matter. Because of that, she was not aspiring to be loved and respected by other people. Those were the last things that she ever thought about. You see? So most of the sufferings and inadequacy comes from craving. Craving is one which jeopardizes our ability to practice love or generosity or kindness whatsoever. So one has to have not aspire to be loving to anybody rather than aspiring to be loved. So it's not that people don't aspire something. They do aspire. The problem is most people aspiring the wrong stuff. So because they don't know the cause of happiness is loving, they don't practice loving because they think cause of happiness is to be loved. they aspire that too much. So when you aspire the non-cause of happiness, of course, you will have the effect of non-happiness. So when one doesn't know that, that's pretty demeaning, really. That's like your eyes being gouged, your senses impaired. You can't see apple for an apple. You can't see apple as apple. You can't see the ripe fruit as ripe fruit and unripe fruit as unripe fruit. You keep picking the wrong fruit. You see. So that's why aspiring faith refers to aspiring the right thing, Instead of aspiring our husband to be kind to us, try to be oneself to be a kind wife, And that would be the most powerful thing. Most self-empowering is oneself to be more loving than wanting the other to be loving. Because when you are loving, that one love that you have true confidence and faith in, and aspiring to become more of that in the future as well, not just adequately saying, this is the benchmark, I've done enough loving, and if I won't get anything like that from others, I'm going to stop here. There's lots of people doing that. And no wonder they're suffering. No wonder there's a drought of love in their life because they decided not to love. They lost confidence in loving. And their craving for the love to come from other was never sort of yielded with a good result. So that's why faith here refers to faith to have faith in the right things. And then if you have the benefit of practicing loving with great faith and confidence in that, then wanting to be loved by others, it will validate. Third type of faith is called validated faith. Validated means you have experienced through your experience that's much better to love others rather than demanding other people's love for yourself. You see, that's validated by experience. Lots of people have blind faith, thinking if you love him, he will love you more. Amazing. That's a recipe for trouble. So one's motivation is so that other will love us more if we just love a little bit. So that's very pure selfishness. And that is not going to be yielding very good result. Lots of people are hating that person they thought they were going to love because they couldn't extract enough love from them. And as a result of that, they feel totally disempowered. They feel betrayed, they call it. I was betrayed, they call it. Betrayal means they had a very weak faith, very clinging faith, the faith that has to grasp the other and subordinate the other and possess the other. And only if you possess and control and subordinate the other, then you might be a bit more happy because you are able to control the other. That is the recipe for suffering. So most people don't have the power of faith. That's what we're talking about. They have the power of desire only, power of craving, and they are desiring the very dangerous thing that they don't need, and they are ignoring the very thing that is most important for their happiness, that is their own benevolent, giving, loving quality. If they aspire that and they know that they can do that, then they have power of faith. Power of faith. And whatever the person does, if a person has that inner quality, whatever person does, and whether it's spiritual belief or whatever it is, there will be tremendous journey one will learn by doing whatever it is, by having that kind of confidence. Whether in the study or work or any particular area, there will be that kind of right attitude of faith and confidence, what we call positive attitude, which is very encouraging attitude, which is not clinging and craving attitude, which is always looking at the possibilities of what one might do to resolve the situation and tackle that difficulty by looking at the positive things what one can do. So the first of the power that we all need is faith. Spiritually speaking, there's lots of reports these days that people who are dying or going through terrible sicknesses or practical life's difficulties when they go through, people who have spiritual faith cope much better in times of crisis or difficulties than those who doesn't have any. They feel completely at a loss, where the people who have faith in God or whatever spiritual faith it is, they seem to have something else to which they have more confidence. So that is the spiritual dimension of how certain life's difficulties were presented to us. If we feel our own faith in everything, and particularly we have a spiritual faith in which we practice, which we are yearning to practice. If one is doing that, that alone makes themselves happier to cope with illness and die peacefully because of their faith at the time of death. They say in Tibetan Buddhism, we say, if a person who has faith at the moment of death will have that positive faith and therefore not sort of treat the life as a failure or as a pain or difficulty, but rather see that something good will happen by going through all these difficulties. Because you always see something positive in the difficulties, one who has the power of faith. The opposite of lack of power, opposite of not having faith is exactly opposite. It means one feels completely disempowered, one feels at a loss and hopeless, and it often becomes a cause of aversion to oneself, disliking to anyone around ourselves. Lots of people in today's society's mental illnesses are probably caused by a lack of that first power of faith in themselves. They have instead the other power of judging themselves, power of doubting themselves and power of doubting others. If the same power directed to have faith, that would be nice, isn't it? It's not that they lacked power. They have power to have the wrong thinking. If that very power directed to have confidence and positive mentality, loving rather than hating, and trusting rather than doubting, loving rather than wanting to be loved, wanting rather than to be giving, and receiving rather than to be giving. Of course, these are the things. Power is not knowing how to switch on the right side, you see. Like electricity, there's a right, positive and negative. There's two, it's just knowing how to negotiate the two. So when we talk about empower yourself, and how do you empower yourself? When you're going through really difficult times, that is the time you can actually empower yourself more than when you had pleasant, easy time. During easy and convenient time, we never grow. We never need to grow. Only when we have difficulty, at that time we could empower ourselves more than ever before. That's because we might surmount certain difficulties that we haven't surmounted before. Now, the second power ingredients for power that related to faith is called joyous effort. Joyous effort means person who have power of faith will make sure his or her time is used skillfully. Joyous effort means you won't waste time doing nothing and then worrying what I didn't do, worrying what one shouldn't do. And there's a lot of people for anxiety and depression. This doesn't allow them to do anything. It takes a lot of time to do anything. Even to get out the back door and hang the clothes, it takes a long time. First, they took a long time to put the clothes to washing. They don't have to wash, the machine wash it. Then to get out of and to hang on the line, it takes a lot of effort to make it. So that kind of joyous effort is otherwise. There's no happiness in the effort to hang clothes or fold clothes or mop the floor or whatever one has to do. There's no happiness. The joyous effort is the exact opposite, whereby one sees the love in everything what one does. So whatever one does, there is happiness. Be that cooking, or be that doing something for oneself or for others, or in your ordinary day-to-day job, you're always contributing to the society. And not thinking, I wish I don't have to do this. But one has this joyous and great delight and great happiness and love in what one does. So the second element is joyous effort means being happy with one's effort and skillful using of one's time. The tendency not to do that is much easier for most people who don't have the second power of joyous effort. They rather have the sadness of no good effort. Sadness of what they didn't do in the past, and certainty of how they might fail if they try this time. and have no hope for the future, because the past has been like that, and therefore one might make too many a mistake again. And one doesn't realize that wasting time like that is already one too many mistakes. Joyous effort, person who has the power of joyous effort, meticulously use his time in a very productive way. And he's happy what he's done. He's happy what he's doing. He's happy what is next that he has to do. He doesn't say, I have to do all of this type of feeling. And he doesn't have this feeling, poor me, I have to do all of this. One feels almost great delight that you have all these things to do. You have more love to do rather than hate having to do. People who hate having to do their homework or assignment or whatever it is, they don't have the second power of joyous effort. They don't have, whatever the things that we have to do, naturally speaking, there are certain things we naturally have to do. It's not that we can choose not to do. Certainly some things we definitely have to do. You have to put your shoes on, tie the lace, and have a clean clothes, and all those things. And when a person doesn't have joy in preparing what they have to do for the future, whatever they have to do next, and they don't have delight and happiness what they are doing now, and then the result of what they're doing now will be the result exactly what the cause was. So if there's no joyous effort in the preparation, there will be joyous effort in the peak of the activities or conclusion of the activity, because the result is usually is very similar to the cause. So if the cause is no joy, lack of joy, only doubt and hesitation, unwillingness. Lots of people go to work, for instance, every day except weekends, but when still go there with lots of unwillingness, you know. Wish they don't have to go there. Wish they could chuck a sikhi, you know. Wish they could find all kinds of excuses not going. Even when they're there, they're not really doing as much as they're paid to do, you know. You know, not everybody's like that, so I'm not saying. But definitely, there is that kind of tendency looms in the person when they don't have the joyous effort. They're just there, just what we call just showing up to fill the timesheet, you know, and not really doing anything. And then they feel bad, because they feel bad that what they didn't do, and then they feel really as if they are not good enough to the post, to the position. Yes, they are not, because they didn't do the things they are supposed to be doing. Or whatever the duty that one has in society, when the person doesn't have joy and gratitude and see that it's an opportunity and privilege to be able to do that, others don't get that position. And therefore, happily being able to use one's time, not being calculated by your hours, even if you have to stay an hour more or a bit more, it's still joyous. There's no ending of joy, you know. There's no ending of joy in what you have to do. Because our physical body, you know, from the very moment when we were baby crawling on the floor, we were all trying to get up, you know. We were all trying to get up and walk. And now when we are able to get up and walk, what are we going to do? We're not doing anything. What was the purpose of the whole physical growth and emotional growth? It defeats the very purpose of coming. So that's why, in order to have that joyous effort, person must know, this is related with the first power, ingredient, power of faith. Person must be, if one doesn't have faith in what one does, if one doesn't believe in what one does, there is no joy. That's the whole thing. There is no joy in participating, in giving time, energy. And that's why one has to, you can see how these two are linked. The faith and the joyous effort are very, 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 very much linked. If one has joyous effort, it's most likely comes from the very things that you do believe are good. What you're doing is good and beneficial, and you believe. And it doesn't mean you have to do some glamorous things that therefore you feel joyous. It could be just ordinary. You might be doing a clerk's job, or you might be doing just a general clerical job, or postman's job, or baking bread, or just a doorman, or security, or whatever. Someone has to do this. These are very important jobs, you know. The whole office depends on your security. Whole office depends on how you keep the place secure. So you have great pride in your own position, and then take great delight in your own position. Have dignity in what one does, and feel that one is contributing to the society. One shouldn't. They're paying for you to do that, so there must be something you're contributing that they attach value to. They don't just pay anybody who bring their body and parks in the office, you know. They're paying people for doing things and contributing and making contribution to the place. So one must be contributing something meaningful. So to the extent they are keep hiring you again and again. So you must be contributing something. If they haven't already said thank you, maybe that they shouldn't send you the payment, you know. In the West you don't have to say thank you. If payment comes, that's it. That's the best thank you there is. So if your pay is coming every Thursday, you must be contributing something good. So why shouldn't we be happy that what one is doing is what one is supposed to be doing, and that's the best one is entitled to do, you know? And that's why it's good to rejoice in whatever position you do. I can understand why there are lots of lots of working mothers. These are mothers at home I'm talking about. I'll call them working mothers. Because mothers who doesn't go to work out there, we call go to work, we call working mothers. The mothers who stay home and look after children are working mothers. Yes, their position is just as important, kind of valid contribution. Of course, looking after children, and that is maybe doesn't attract the regular pay from some source. But you can see that when the motherhood is so happy, looking after the children, bringing them up, seeing the growth of the child, speaking, walking, all that, you can see that light that adds to the duty of a mother who is very committed to what she does. So it doesn't mean that what one does has to be some glamorous thing that whole world knows, but it's very discreet, that nobody even acknowledges you, but you do. You have delight in whatever you do. Joyous effort means you never waste an hour or day or week doing what you're doing and then thinking, what a waste, I wish I didn't have to do this. Lots of people cancel themselves, strike out themselves for what they're doing. They don't want to do that anymore. And they really wish they don't have to do that. And yet they have to do it because they're necessitated by their practical living. And when that's happening, it's definitely, person feels disempowered because what they're doing, their livelihood we're talking about, they're not happy with their livelihood. And then they're not able to fully appreciate how they spend the time and doing the things what they are doing. They're always thinking, if I can do that, I'll be happy. They're not happy because what they're doing, but they're happy, they wish to be happy by doing something else. So that's really disempowering. So joyous effort brings the person to feel happy whatever he has to do and give the best kind of wholehearted energy without any reservation, without any, I would say, resentment that you have to do the things what you have to do. And that is what one does could be an expression of one's love, could be expression of the clarity of faith you were referring to. If a person had that kind of degree of confidence what they did, how they spend their time doing. Whether it's a week later or a day later, you assess what you've been doing, and if you have been happy during the time you were doing, even after a week you assess you're still happy that you did that last week. Because we weren't happy during the time we were doing it, later on when we look at it, you are not happy because you spend time doing that unhappily, so you only have unhappy memory. So lots of people are not only unhappy now because they're unhappy about the past. So basically unhappy about the past time they have to do those things, they're still unhappy now, even though they don't have to do the same stuff. You see, this is the karma of consequences of what one does. Joyous effort makes the person, benefit of joyous effort is like that. It makes you feel, joyous effort person conserves a lot of energy. By the joy is like inner warmth. When you have joy from within, you age slower. You get less sick. You're not vulnerable to cold and cough and all kinds of sicknesses. Person who is very sad, which is opposite to joyous effort, means very sad and doesn't want to do anything, always looking for excuses. And those people get really sick very easily, karmically speaking, because the mind is basically disempowered. Basically all the fibers, all the energy, all the tissues in the body are not happy, really. There's a bit of a tissue revolution happening. Fiber revolution happening. Inside the body there's a revolution. They say, why are you taking me to the office every day? Everybody just stands up away in the morning. They don't want you to go to the office. There's a lot of that happening. And those people get sick. Even if they stay home, so what? They get sick. So they have no benefit of staying home because they're sick anyway. So basically they're powerless. They're powerless. At work they're not happy. At home they're not happy. So they're not happy anyway. They couldn't make up mind to be happy anyway. So that's because they lack joyous effort. Joyous effort people who have joyous effort they're really productive when they do. And then when they have rest, they have meaningful rest, and they're not really sort of judging themselves, I should have done that, I shouldn't have done that. Whatever they have to do, they do. They just do. That's it. They just do. They don't look for they don't try to grasp at some positions in what they do. It's not what they do, it's with what attitude they do. If there's joy with which one does, have you ever seen some goods when you come into possession, it gives you a lot of happiness. Other goods, as soon as you come into possession, doesn't give any happiness. I believe this, all the goods that are made in big factories, you shouldn't buy them, if possible. They don't make you happy because they went through the hand of many unhappy people's hand and packed and delivered at your door, you know. So if you can knit your own jumper and socks, you'll be really happy with your knitting. Every time you look at it, you're very happy because you know, oh, I knitted this jumper, oh, my mom knitted this sock. You have lots of happiness because that came from love of what you do. If you just bake your own bread, you will eat it very carefully. You wouldn't throw those crusts away. You eat every bit of it because you did it lovingly, and therefore you cherish every bit of it. So there's a lot of mass-produced product goods bring lots of unhappiness because people who work in factory, and most people who work in those situations, they have this very poor work ethic, and they don't bring right attitude, a right kind of what we call joyous effort at work. When they're not, what they're doing, they're not happy with, and then the karma is what we do from. If the karma is created unhappily, the result would be unhappy karma. And so, if karma is created happily, you know, if a person does anything happily, then the thing we may produce would actually carry that energy. Some things you have, they really feel good. That object is not just material thing, but it seems to bring some energy that people who put in the work actually have benefit to other people. So it's very important to be able to do things lovingly, especially for yourself, especially for somebody. It's really good. Then you put lots of effort for some particular person, a particular occasion. It brings lots of happiness, a joyous effort. If you can do that every day, you have a particular desk, you sit in the office, you've got a particular task to do, your people in the senior ones tell you what to do each day, you should lovingly put all the nice energy in that, and I wish well, good benefit should come from this, from what I've done today. May this benefit the people for whom you are working for. If you put all that effort, that's good joyous effort. That's the powerful. That's the good power. That's the power. That's one of the 5 pillars of power is putting the right effort with the right motivation, and therefore not drain your physical and emotional energy for nothing. But give the lovingly, with a lot of joy and happiness, do it very well, willingly and happily. Then it will benefit other people, and we will, it's like interest will accrue all the time, and you don't want, but it keep coming. The happiness, you don't know where this happiness comes from. You can't. There's overflowing happiness. Because what you did, you put lots of positive thought in what you did, and that joyous effort, what a joyous effort does, it helps you to restrain from not so useful efforts. One will be very conservative with regard to what you do, what you don't do. You will trim down from various activities. You don't do many things, but those you do lovingly and meaningfully, and you can tell from the process of the doing things is hard, but a product and cause for which you're doing is what motivates you to do. And the joy comes from that. Actually, tedious task of doing physical things, of course, most people find very monotonous. But when you remember the cause, why? When you remember the cause and why you're doing it, you really feel, yes, I do it, you know. And if you do it for the benefit of people, and as well as your own livelihood, it's all taken care of by that. Because of that, you got to be supportive to the work environment and contribute to them as much as they're contributing to you. There is an amazing sense of honesty that one wants to make one's time meaningfully delegated to bring a fruitful result from the energy what one has put. So if people feel disempowered and feel very weak and they don't know what they're doing and they're not using their effort and they still are doing things, it's not because you are not doing anything. You are not doing it with the right attitude. Joyous effort comes from right attitude with whatever one is doing. It doesn't mean you haven't got the right job. Joyous effort is not called right job. It's called joyous effort. It doesn't matter whether you have to do exact opposite to the person or whatever. It doesn't matter what they do. In Buddhism we say that temple sweeper can gain enlightenment before the abbot if he's got the joyous effort. So it's not so much what you do, but with what attitude you do. You don't have to be the abbot, you can be sweeper in the temple and can gain enlightenment by the love, with devotion with which one does. And not making sharp, sort of unkind comparison with oneself with other people who, just accept oneself. Good thing about joyous effort and faith that we refer to is acceptance. You're able to accept yourself. Acceptance changes us. All of a sudden it transforms us. A rejecting of ourselves or our set of circumstances prevent us from making any positive move to bring any change for whatsoever. Whereas acceptance changes us. The person who sweeps the temple has lots of joy because he feels this is a wonderful thing I can do, because it needs to be done and he's happy to do it. And he delightfully does it, and because he swept the temple clean, everybody comes there is happy. So actually he makes everybody happy. And he knows he's got that magical job. He knows that when he does it, particularly with that attitude, he knows when everybody comes in there, they want to be calm and peaceful and clean inside. And when he can create an environment calm and peaceful and clean, he knows he's adding to the happiness of others. So he therefore sweeps it with that kind of right attitude. So joyous effort is not so much what you do, but rather with what attitude you do. Lots of people say you got the wrong job. But of course you applied that job. You looked the whole Canberra Times or Sydney Morning Herald, out of 500-600 jobs, you picked it yourself. So don't say that it's a bad job, that's a wrong job. It's a wrong attitude. The wrong attitude that makes the job to be the right, not the right job. So right attitude completely corrects what otherwise looks like a wrong job or bad position or whatever it is, or difficult colleagues or whatever. When we put in right effort, even the bad colleagues are a little bit repositioned, Even the bad colleagues are dusted away and they become good colleagues. When you bring the right attitude with your job, then even there is no such thing as bad colleagues, really. Bad colleagues are only a reflection of a person who doesn't have the right attitude. When you have that, this is what the word power means. You have power to change them, change other people. You don't sit there wishing other people change. When they don't change, you feel stuck. It's not like what changes others are our attitude. Our attitude is positive, then even the difficult people changes because your inclusive attitude about them as people, unique and different from us. And how they contribute, what they do to the job, to the workplace, and what we do to the workplace, how mutually dependent we are to each other, and therefore looking at them at a very positive effort. Being able to think kindly of other person is a right attitude, it is right effort, really, joyous effort. Because most people don't want to put the effort to think kindly of other people. They rather think unkindly of other people. So that's the same effort, but for wrong purposes. If you think kindly of other person, that's a right attitude. One of the right attitude, sort of joyous effort, is they say, doing good things that you don't do before. Maintaining good things you used to do before. So if you have a kind attitude towards other people already before, then you just maintain that. That's a joyous effort. When a person restrains from that, and instead of keeping the kind attitude toward the person, if they're unkind towards the other person, then that becomes opposite of joyous effort. They become discouraged. They don't want to do this. They don't want to contribute to such a workplace because they're freezing themselves. They're just basically frozen. They don't want to do. They're not cooperative. They're not giving anything. They're not showing anything. They just have a wall. They build this wall. Instantly, this sudden wall came out. And they work for the same place, there are lots of walls, and there's already the office is very small. Already there are too many unnecessary partitions. And then on top of that, everybody's building their own little partitions. And then people become so alienated from each other. They're not communicating. They're not kind to each other. They're judging and they're being cruel to each other. And of course, the place feels like demoralized. They don't feel good in there. Yes, they have no power. They don't know how to empower themselves to be positive and gentle and kind, respect other people. If you can respect other people, that's a good effort. That's a joyous effort. If you respect other people and not highlight other people's mistakes, that's a joyous effort. That's a really good effort. But that's what exactly people are doing at workplaces. All these power games, power games. And they don't realize the power games are the very thing that's explosive. They're very destructive. It's a recipe for suffering and vindictiveness and self-alienation. And they have the job, but they're not happy. They got the job, but they're not happy at the job. Reason is because they're not putting right effort in the place. So they feel so weak, they can't change the circumstances, as if everything is wrong out there and you're in the wrong place. And person who has power in themselves, they don't blame things out there not being adequate and us being a sort of unfortunate person who got stuck in this place. One doesn't see like that. Person who want to empower themselves, take responsibility that what one does is what one is experiencing. What one thinks is one is experiencing. When one knows this very clearly, he doesn't wait there other people to do all kind of miraculous changes and then to bring happiness to us. That doesn't happen. So, the joyous effort is to bring the changes, you've got to make the first move. And when you make a positive move, it will change the circumstances for the others too. Without them having to know that, it definitely does. And because one of the two is not making positive move, therefore neither of them are making any moves that are positive. It's rather like Israel and the Palestinians. And if they make any positive move, they really do that as a bargaining chip, The whole intention is to make the other person to do various things. One doesn't empower oneself to take the leading role. One expects the other person to leading role. If person provoked us, we say, if you provoked me. If the person practiced patience first before us, we should be delighted, but neither of them are willing to do that, you see. So that's why the second part is joyous effort, is where how people spend their time to resolve a problem or to prevent a problem or to rectify a problem, what the people do or what they don't. What is it, their input, that is making the problem worse or better? It will be very much determined by the right effort or not. Sometimes it's just not moving anywhere. It is not going anywhere type of feeling. People say it's not going anywhere. It's been like that all the days, weeks, people have a feeling. That means we as an individual who is part of it is not putting any joyous effort to the situation to compromise slightly. Joyous effort has to compromise, particularly with other people who are just as stubborn as us. So we don't want them to be more stubborn than us. We want to help them to become less stubborn than us because we're already bad enough. So if we have other people who are just as stubborn as us, we are in a bad place. So if we can assist them to become less stubborn than us, at least it will be great help for us. Now, one who's not making effort to do that, are powerless to do anything. They're stuck. And they're really worried they have to spend the rest of life like that. Yes, they do. And the rest of life might be not very long either. And they're making it shorter. And they're making it very, very miserable. And what's the point of living? Yes, people do feel, what's the point of living like this? Yet they don't know how to do otherwise. And that's a power, because they're not putting the joyous effort. Now the third element that makes the power to empower oneself is called mindfulness. This is very important, practical aspect of the first two is a little different, but the third one is power of mindfulness. That you know very well that you're aware. You have the mindfulness means you have to be aware. You have to be fully aware what you experience
as a result of what you thought, what you said, what you felt, what you believed, what you perceived. So only thing that you have to be aware that your experience is what you did, what you said, what you thought, what you believed about people or yourself or whatever. We do not experience anything but what we think. We do not experience anything but how we perceived. We do not experience anything but how we believe about the people. So what we believe is one thing, but what the actual object is totally different thing. We're not even aware, let alone become fully aware, that what we experience is our own neurosis, our own egocentric mentality, our own mind that blames others and have aversion to others and resentment to other people. That is affecting us the way we feel. And person is not aware. Mindfulness, we should be fully aware of our mind and what it is doing to us. That our mind is the creator of its own experiences, but yet we are scapegoating some other people, saying my life is like this because of him or because of her. And and if you talk to somebody, who's biased to you, they say, yeah, I know that, And of course, that's not both. Neither of them are being mindful. They're both of them being mindless. Amazing. Quite a lot of people do that. And when you talk to friends and you complain about some other people behind their back to them, they tend to agree with you. Straight away. No hesitation. Straight away, they'll stand beside you. They call it, stand beside you. I'll stand beside you. However mindless you go, never mind. I'll become just as mindless as you are. You see? That's called good friend, isn't it? Good friend is you stand beside you, however stubborn you are, don't even mention that you are. People do that quite a lot of the time. Mindlessly. And they're not aware that they are doing that one too many times. So, of course, mindlessness is not powerful. It's disempowering. It's self-demeaning. It's self-sabotaging, It's self-cruel. If any cruelty is bad, let alone self-cruelty. Mindfulness is exactly the opposite of mindlessness. Even if you are thinking, he's so stupid, he's so arrogant, he's so judgmental, that kind of, you're starting to think like that, all of a sudden you become aware. You become mindful of what you're thinking. You become mindful of what you're thinking about the person, and you're experiencing that. It's very powerful. All of a sudden it stops you from thinking that. You go, stop it. I'm experiencing what you're thinking. Please don't think that. It's really nice, isn't it? It's like saying, please don't eat that. I feel the effect of that. Yes. When you think particular thoughts, when you feel upset, you realize your thinking is making you feel sick. And when you believe in what you perceive is the true, and that perceived perception makes you feel sick or sad or unhappy. All of a sudden you become aware of your thoughts. That's the whole mindfulness. You're aware of your thoughts and how they're creating these little stories. Little stories become big stories, and big stories become huge stories, and you're going to tell to everybody, don't you? And they'll buy it. They'll buy it. Channel 9 will buy the big stories. They don't buy small stories, They don't buy small stories. They buy big stories, and usually that's full of negative gossip and everything. You have it. Amazing. They don't buy good small stories. Good small stories when a person becomes mindful. He dropped his aversion to his mother, and he went to hug his mother and asked for her forgiveness. They wouldn't buy that story. No. They wouldn't give a penny. They said, no, manager's busy or something. Yes, that's the society we're looking at it. Whole society is mindless, you see. That's the danger. So, it's very, very few who are daring to be different. That's the only comfort. That's the only comfort is everybody is mindless, so I also have to be mindless. Maybe I should become leader of it. Yes, I should become leader of everybody who's mindless. That's right, yeah. Yeah, you leader. When you're leader is like the crowd, isn't it? Yes, they elect those people. Exactly. Yes, and they feel they won. They have no idea what they're doing to themselves. You see, people are not aware. The good thing about mindfulness is that when you become mindful, not only you are mindful, your thoughts, your actions, but when you see someone doing something foolish, even if they're throwing rocks to you or whatever, when you are mindful what they're doing, you will not get hurt. You will not be vulnerable to be so offended by that, because you know they do not know what they're doing. You're mindful that they know not what they're doing. You have the power to forgive because the person doesn't know what they're doing. And that's the only reason why Jesus thought it's okay for him to be it's okay for him to be hanged on this cross, because people didn't know what they're doing. And he forgave them because he knew what they didn't know. He knew they didn't know, so he forgave them. See, the mindfulness is very powerful, isn't it? But most people think, even if they're not doing anything harmful, they're suspicious they're doing this something. And then they become completely mindless, you see. Mindfulness is a very powerful stuff, because our mind is a very powerful tool. It's only if it's got the right information with which it directs. Usually, to become mindful, you have to be aware, and you have to test, you have to verify, you have to pass the test that that thought is admittable to your palace of your brain. This is a very palace, huh? You don't let any unruly thoughts come inside here. They should have special permit. To come into your brain, they should have special permit issued by you. See? So you don't let every thought to come in very easily without getting special permission, and by that you have to go through the security. Yes, they have to go through the security before they are let in. I can see everybody is trying to work out which part of the brain, because it's security. Who's in charge? Where's the headquarters? Yeah, this is the headquarters. That's the problem, isn't it? Yes, all goes wrong up here. Mind, people think it's in the head, so you should really go up there and see whether there's anything to become aware of. Most of the time people are so believing of their thoughts, so believing of their perceptions, so naive. They think it's intelligent. What they think is what actually it is. And they're not aware that what they think is totally colored by one's beliefs and presumptions and assumptions. And what it appears and what it actually is totally two different things. And when you're not aware of that, of course, chances of getting correct is very slim, because we only experience what we're thinking about the object rather than what the object really is. And that's what it is. Some power of mindfulness is, when you're mindful, what happens is, even if someone were to provoke to you or harm you, whatever, you become aware of what they're doing. Because of that, you don't fall prey to their trappings, to their traps. You cannot be ensnared by their foolishness. You have this dignity. It's called mindfulness. You have the dignity to not fall into their traps. And you feel this is what Jesus did. Jesus did. He didn't fall in the trap of the others. I don't think there would be any Jesus if he fell in the trap of others. He would have acted like them. And if he acted like them, there was no Jesus, no Christ, no teaching of forgiveness or of kindness or compassion. None of this will manifest from act of retaliation, act of overreaction. When someone is doing something unusual that you usually find it upsetting, and all of a sudden you become mindful. All of a sudden you become mindful. No, it's not. They know not what they're doing, and be cautious. You may also know not what you're thinking.
This is a nice warning, isn't it? Nice warning, and a nice warning on time, in real time in camp. Now, you may not know what you're thinking. As a result, you may not know what you're doing to yourself. As a result of that, you may not know what you're doing to them. As a result of that, you may not know what you're doing to your future, and the consequences will follow you. When you have that, that's called mindfulness. Some people think mindfulness is recollecting everything from the past. To some degree, it is true. You may learn from past mistakes. Another is feeling for the future. Mindfulness is feeling for the future. It's a compassion, really. It's a recipe for compassion. Even if you become compassionate, you cannot be compassionate unless you're mindful. What you're doing now will have what consequences to you, to the other, to the future, and consequences of consequences. When a person becomes mindful of that, he becomes fearful. Oh, if this produces that, I will not do it. Only if this produces this result, then I will do it. But how do you verify that? You have to base on past experience and so forth. When you become mindful, there's amazing power to pause in you. Mindfulness, it has ability to pause you so much so that the cause might be in jeopardy. Purpose for why you're doing this might be jeopardized if you're not skillful. Therefore, your move has to be carefully examined and chosen. So this makes oneself mindful of our thoughts. When you become mindful of your thoughts, the amazing thing is that thought doesn't become feeling. So you become mindful of feeling. Because you fear that if I thought like that, I will feel, it will make me feel like that. If I feel like that, it will make me do this. If I feel like this, it will make me do this. If I did this, it will have this kind of result, and then it will make many, many sufferings. So you can see that basically the whole causal chain of human misdeeds and wrong actions and their consequences. One sees that. You can see how past hurt and past mistakes were made, and future mistakes could be preventable. You become mindful of present, and therefore this is the very place that really your standing would affect the future and heal the past. When you have that awareness, this is called power of mindfulness. You have, and often you find, if you find yourself restraining from saying something or doing something that you nearly said just a minute ago, but you're not doing that, you have a bit of mindfulness, power of mindfulness registering in your mind. And then maybe that came from your power of faith, power of joyous effort. Yes, if you have those two, probably it will help you to become mindful. You have power of faith that you can be tolerant here, that you can you can choose to not retaliate. You see the better benefit of not retaliation than retaliation. That's a power of faith in non-retaliation. Yeah? When you have faith in the power of non-retaliation, you will not retaliate. You will have the mindfulness to practice tolerance, distress tolerance ability. Because of that, your joyous effort. The effort is endurance. Effort is endurance. You have to endure the difficulty that is currently there, the process, but the product will be good. So you're enduring the process for the good product, good result. So you can see how the joyous effort, power of joyous effort, and power of faith, and power of mindfulness working together, when these three together. Now, the fourth one is called power of concentration. And some people translate this as power of meditation. In order for a person to experience these first three powers, power of faith, power of joyous effort, and power of mindfulness in everyday life, they have to do meditation every day. Power of meditation. One has to learn to meditate. One has to learn to rehearse these things. A person who doesn't have meditation means taking quiet, peaceful time, reflecting these things, and then realizing how unmindfully, when we are mindful, not mindful, we have done so many things and thought so many thoughts that have become very, very disruptive and harmful to our life. How many self-induced sufferings and how many pain we have caused to other people in the past. We fear that we will repeat again. Therefore, we have to learn how to meditate. Meditation helps the person to develop concentration. And concentration, when a person who is concentrated, then only become mindful. Otherwise, he doesn't know how to be kind and tolerant when he needs to.
Then whenever he needs, he's not practicing either of that. And then and then only time when he wants it is not happening. Because person didn't have any power of mindfulness cultivated from the power of meditation. So power of meditation means person has to learn to meditate. In the Eastern Buddhist particular tradition, and to some degree Hindu also, and we traditionally call them meditation. In Christianity and in the Western context of the world, what they do is they usually do prayers. The prayer is actually a form of meditation. If you really do prayer sincerely, the person is listening to their heart and maybe speaking to someone who will listen. And when you pray to someone, then you might say something nice because they are listening. So when somebody is listening, you might say some sensible things, you see. And this time they might hear too. So you go to the church or temple, you say prayers. May I be kind, or may I be able to forgive other people, or whatever. But they both prayer and meditation go hand in hand. In Buddhism, even though we promote meditation more than the prayer, but when actually you go and learn the form of Buddhist meditation, they teach you prayer to do at the very beginning, prayer, a little prayer at the beginning, a short prayer at the end, but in the middle of the true prayer is meditation. So prayer and meditations can go in hand. Let's call this power of prayer or power of meditation. If you reflect every Sunday or every morning or whatever in your prayer or in your meditation about how you may conduct today, how may you conduct yesterday, how you have conducted yesterday that needs amending, that needs confessing, that needs pardoning. Each time you pray, each time you meditate, you clearly see what you did yesterday, what happened to you yesterday is forgivable and it's not worthy of holding it with resentment and anger. You really see all of a sudden your mind is much kinder and wiser in prayer and meditation than it was in that particular time and place. All of it, the more frequently you're doing prayer and meditation, more frequently you're able to rectify the past damages or hurts, and therefore you wouldn't lay blame on others or make oneself feel as a kind of a victim of other people's careless act. One will feel sorry for them. In doing that, so this is what we're power of meditation and power of prayer. And there's of course lots of reported in recent scientific research done the effect meditation has to people's ability to cure better to any kind of disease like cancer patients, or how to prevent the chances of contracting certain illnesses if you can meditate regularly. Even certain medication can increase the effectiveness because your belief is actually affecting the medicine and how it actually can fight against the negative cells or whatever it is that in the body that they have to work to harmonize the elements in the body. If the mind is assisting the medication, then the medication will karmically become much more powerful ingredients to combat against the illnesses and disease the body has otherwise generated. Most diseases of the physical body is diseases of the mind, means lack of ease in the mind, hatred, anger, resentment, guilt. These things diseases the mind. Disease means unpleasant, you're not happy, you know. One time you're unhappy, another time, and the body actually gets disease much later. And the body actually is firmly standing, no, we're not going to sick now. We're not sick now. He's thinking already now, but we're not going to sick today. After a few years, then the body says, look, we give up, you know. It's like what the content is, then the container is affected. Container is affected by what we put into it. So body itself is clothed well, put in houses that are air conditioned, carpeted, nice doona, electric blanket, body is looked after so well. But so what? The content is no good. The content is sabotaging everything that's in the body. The body itself could not be healthy when the thought that we keep in the body is self-sabotaging. Psychosomatically, we are basically undermining what we are doing health-wise. You might do exercise, You might do dieting. You might do all sorts of things for health. But what you think is exactly undermining that. So what's the point? So meditation is very most powerful because it can help us to combat those wrong beliefs and ideas that mind is holding, and reject all of those and replace them with the intelligent emotions and thoughts and beliefs. What would have you? Meditation helps us to organize the thoughts. It's just like a person just goes in the house and reorganize everything and throw away most things what you don't need, and then the house is neat and tidy. It's like that. You just have to go inside. In meditation, we get to see what's in our head. That we have put so many stuff that are taking so much space. There's actually protruding from your body, and they are taking so much. You feel cluttered. People feel very heavy. Very heavy. They're weighed down by what they thought, what they believed happened to them, what they believed didn't happen to them. They're holding all this rubbish information in their body, and the body is very vulnerable. It can get ill and sick very quickly because all the information that's in there is not harmonious. It's everything is put everywhere, and the body is confused. So meditation is a deliberate attempt how to organize the thoughts that are permissible, that are licensed thought, there are certain thought, prohibited thought. There are thoughts from third world countries. If I allow this example, immigration department, people who come from third world countries, they have to have strict test to let them come in. Like that, you have to see all the thought that are craving, hatred, ignorance, judgment, blame. These kind of related thoughts, you just don't let them come in at all. You just give them a big break before they are let in. You might not let in at all. But who does that? And when you do that, in meditation you get to do that. If you meditate regularly, you begin to see so many thoughts that should have never been allowed to become part of you has been invading you, and they have been just running your life. No wonder why you feel powerless and so forth, because they are in charge. They're just like gangs. Thought gangsters. Thought gangsters are inside your head. And how could you possibly have a peaceful mind? So you've got to really go inside your head and expel all of them one by one. In meditation, in the middle of the meditation, when you're calm and peaceful, then you truly realize, I cannot stay angry like this to my mind. This is ridiculous. I cannot think like this about him. This is ridiculous. Then you start recognizing your thoughts and why you don't want to associate with. You have a really fundamental disagreement with you. And you can see some meditators having that disagreement. You can see you can see they're really having profound disagreement with their past, with their habits. But these little meditators really now, he's got really sharp. He said, I have no reason to believe you anymore. I'm going to go away from you. I had enough of you. In meditation, there's a lot of disagreement comes, and you realize what you should disassociate from. So these are the wrong attitudes, wrong beliefs, negative attitude towards your mother or father or people, or even towards yourself. You realize how unhealthy they are. In the middle of the meditation, they just come off very clearly. Because your mind is very clear and sharp, then they are now under the spotlight. And you know exactly what you need to get rid of. Get rid of things. Meditation is power concentrated, remember. When you're concentrating, what you're doing yields a much better result. You will discover inner foes, things that have been sabotaging by your own attitude to yourself than those harm caused by anybody out there. Nobody, The one Buddhist scholar wrote, he says, even if the old enemy of my life were to come and cut my body into pieces and do all sorts of things, no matter how, but they cannot make me to go through the hellish life day after day. But my hatred and anger and selfishness and egotistical mind can make me to suffer like that for many, many eons. So how could I possibly ignore this inner foe and that might troubles and difficulties in my life is created by other people. Doing this is mindless, is insanity. And when you have that kind of realization, that only happens when you're in prayer, in a meditation, deep reflection. And when you do meditation, then if you did meditation today, you will find during the day you have the above three powers. Power of mindfulness is registering throughout the day, power of right effort, and the power of faith, power of confidence. These four will all come. But the second level of wisdom is wisdom of realizing ultimate nature of things. Ultimately, everything is empty, means they don't exist at all. They're just an illusion. We happen to be, so many of us agreeing to each other's names, and we just, if somebody says, I'm George, he says, oh, George. We just really think he says George. It's George, you know. We never take, are you sure? Are you sure you're George? We should do that to each other. Are you sure you're George? Are you really sure you're George? And some people say, I'm so sad, I'm so upset. Are you really sure you're so upset? You could tackle yourself. Don't believe in everything too much. It's an illusion, you know. It's like look in the mirror and say, I'm in the mirror. Are you sure you are in the mirror? And the one in the mirror also is asking you, are you sure you are you? That's what one in the mirror will be doing to you, you know. One in the mirror is asking you, are you really sure? And we say, we are asking one in the mirror, are you really sure you are you? When you have the benefit of the doubt, what you see and believe and hear might not be as it there appears, you have the wisdom of not being affected very quickly. Because then what you see, what you hear, you will not take them so literally as they may appear. So the power, most people becomes, one thing is that they don't have the power of wisdom, they have power of ignorance. They're not knowing what it is, and merely because it's a label or name, they believe in that. And that's why the ignorant mind thinks he's like that, he's like this to me. And one time you call him selfish, then you always think he's selfish, you know. It's terribly devastating. We don't realize how we label to somebody actually makes us to believe the person ever since that he's always selfish, always, you know. And we don't realize, we don't know how to remove the sticky labels, you know. We should remove the label as soon as we put, it's very nice. We usually put the label to stay there long, you know. If you can remove the label as soon as you put, then you realize how everything is merely labeled. But yet, because we don't realize what it appears is not what it is, but it is merely called, you know. Merely called, you know. When Queen Bean is called as the fastest growing city in the southern New South Wales, yeah, we all feel like that. Oh, I live in the fastest growing town in the southern New South Wales. Amazing. All of a sudden we get puffed up, you know. I live in the fastest growing city in the southern New South Wales. Well, whatever. Amazing what the labeling does. And people who have the wisdom, they realize, I will not think like that. Every time you think something, you label them, you know, and then you label them. We only experience what we put a label. We don't realize what's behind the label. Nothing. Before you put the label, it was emptiness, wasn't it? It was nothing. It was just blank wall. After you put the label, you only saw the label. You wouldn't see the wall at all. So what we're saying is wisdom, power of wisdom is knowing that everything appears not as what they are, but as we project it. We only see what we believe. So if we have the wisdom of knowing, I'm only experiencing what I'm thinking about this person, then you wouldn't think this person is like that. You see, when you have that benefit of that, therefore the person is only what you call them to be. If you think he's stupid not because he's stupid, but because you call him. You know? And then when you know that, the good thing about that is even if other people call you stupid, it doesn't offend you because you know you're not stupid. good to know that you're not stupid. You might even be nothing. Of course, when somebody calls you stupid, when you're not stupid, you stay not stupid. You see? When you have the wisdom. Because what most people do is, they think they are very clever, they think they are intelligent. When somebody calls you stupid, they act stupidly. They straight away react and retaliate and become stupid, See? They don't have wisdom. They don't have power of wisdom. Wisdom is the practice of the reverse. Means, it's what you normally do, you do the opposite of that. That's the wisdom. So if somebody if somebody calls you stupid, you should be thankful for that. Because then you have wisdom. Then you have wisdom not to act like one. Oh, that's a wisdom. That's a real wisdom. That's a real wisdom. You don't have to say, no, I'm wise. You're wrong. You don't say that. You might even say, thank you. Thank you very much. When you're able to do that, now what have you done? What have you done? You've completely made the other person's negative words powerless. Powerless to generate any stupid remarks from you. But instead it has made yourself to be more safe. But that's why when it says, if somebody verbally abuses you, for instance, which there's not a lot of danger in Australia because everybody practices right speech. But just in case you are out of parliament or something like that, where there's a lot of danger. And some people use verbal abuse. If you have wisdom, if you have power of wisdom, you will see straight away. This person is saying this. He must be deeply sad or hurt or abused by others in the past like this. So I must be careful not to retaliate and act anything foolish. That's wisdom. It prevents you, it stops you from doing anything dangerous, doing anything aggressive or mutually harmful, isn't it? Yeah? That's the power of wisdom. How do you empower yourself in front of abusive people, verbally abusive people or aggressive people? Is you've got to respond to them exact opposite to what they're doing. That's wisdom. If somebody's driving to this side, you just have to drive on this side. That's wisdom. If somebody's driving this way and you drive straight onto them, that's not wisdom, is it? That's why they deliberately put this white line in the middle of the road, so that you have wisdom to stay on the safe side. Then you don't drive onto them just because they're coming towards you, It's called collision, Collision occurs when both are not wise. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much the person is charging towards you, as long as you don't run into them like they're running into you. You can easily avoid. This is all about martial art, I can see all these people who practice martial art. The idea is not to hurt anybody. But they are so tempting to hurt somebody, so some of the martial art become a bit out of the system, They broke the rules, All the martial arts started with I call it martial arts is fast forward Buddhism. And it's all developed in East Asia, Northeast Asia, where the people are little restless. So they can't just sit still like the Buddha did. They have to get up and do some things, First they start doing slowly, and then they go faster, and then they want to hit up. Wisdom is about totally being able to do just diffuse the problem, however much is badly provoked from the other. But you will not ever fall a victim to a difficulty because you're not foolish as they are. You don't, of course, tell them they are. They are great teachers for you to teach wisdom. You feel grateful. That's why you are very sane. And it might be your husband, it might be your mother. Who are a better person to practice wisdom than them? Because these are people you should practice wise and skillfulness too. If you abrasively react to them, they will be hurt, and with that you will fall. So you have to be gentle and cautious of not reacting wrongly to your loved ones, because a relationship to build lovingly like that takes years, and to break down it by just a childish reaction will help you, and the whole relationship will tumble down into the drains and nothing is left. Lots of people don't realize what to do, what not to do. They don't have the wisdom, because they're often stuck in the head thinking they are right, the other one is wrong, so they always take the righteous action, the righteous punitive action. They think anything you can do as long as the other person was wrong, and then it takes no time for us to do doubly wrong. That's not wise. Person consult their heart. Wisdom is not intellectual. Wisdom is heart, good heart. Good heart consulted wisdom. You feel in your heart, do you want me to do this? You have to make peace with others. You don't war with other person. If you find yourself warring with somebody, no matter how intelligent you are, it's not intelligent. It's like CIA. What do they call the British version of CIA? They send those half a dozen people, intelligent people to catch the right person. They followed him, didn't they? They followed him, train station after train station, block after block. Yes, you turn left. Yes, you go over there. Oh, immediately. Oh, he's going down underground the train. Yes, we're going there. Yes. Oh, yes, exact description. We got the right car. That's how they get intelligence wrong. It took no time for them to shoot. The guy was unarmed. The guy was just simply running, probably for everybody running for life anyway, for his train, for his next bus. They thought he was running because he was guilty. You see, we often get the wrong stuff. It doesn't take long for us to see what we're believing. Wisdom and intelligence are two different things, you see. When you don't consult your heart, it's often what we think up here, we think that's the only thing there is to know. And therefore we make wrong conclusions, and we make wrong assumptions, and we don't understand. When you have the right wisdom, what we call power of wisdom, it saves a lot of time. You might be a little slower in reacting, but what you are not reacting quickly is proaction. It's called tolerance. If somebody is tolerant, people will be happy to work with tolerant people. Tolerance is the best beauty. You don't have to make up for that. You just have to do it whenever it needs to. It shines the light from within you. It surpasses any beauty or height or presentation or how well dressed you are. Superfluous. If one has real tolerance, it comes from the wisdom and from one's compassion for the other. Therefore, one doesn't justify oneself taking such a reaction, no matter how badly the person was behaving. And you cannot, therefore, act like them just because they were wrong. If there is one wrong, it's already enough. You don't need another one. At least you might save yourself to get wrong some other time when there's not so many wrongs. This time there are far too many wrong already, so probably I can be sane and helpful to the one who has fallen. Now, that's wisdom. That might be your husband, that might be your mother, where you find yourself practicing wisdom all of a sudden. Now, this wisdom, which is the fifth of the 5 powers, you don't generate that unless you practice the 4th power of meditation. We don't have the necessary power of wisdom when we need it. Often it's belated wisdom. Often it's too late, 2 weeks late, 5 months late, 20 years late. It's not wisdom, it's 20 years late wisdom. It's like if your train is 20 years late, what do you think about that train? That's way too late, 2 minutes also might be too difficult sometimes, You've got to be punctual. You've got to be in real time, then it's wisdom. The ability to have that sharp, clear and pristine awareness of wisdom only is cultivated in meditation. In meditation you have this amazing consultation happening. It's like clarifying your mind, processing your mind and separating the gross from the subtle, subtle from the subtler, and subtle from the subtlest. In the deep meditation, you can see them you can see the gross thoughts coming, and you will listen to all that is regarding your father or mother or whatever. All those beliefs that you have that you thought was so real, that justified to make you feel angry for them or whatever, you realize how stupid it is, how long we have been stupid. There haven't been a time or place, nobody taught us we've been stupid this long. All of a sudden your meditation has to tell you you're stupid. Of course, you know. The Buddhist teaching is very challenging. It always says everybody's stupid, you know. And only those who hear and who listens and hears it become wise. Good thing about that is, one who listens to that and hears it straight away become wise. And they say, oh, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to pick up meditation. I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to be compassionate. And therefore, I shall give power to myself by giving meditation. You know, if you don't have a friend who meditates, if you don't have anyone who meditates in the household, that's your problem. So if you have a friend who is persuading to meditate and encouraging to meditate, and you're also learning how to do, that's the beginning of all good things. Because then you shall nurture your wisdom, you shall nurture your right effort, you shall nurture your faith and all the right mindfulness I refer to. All of a sudden, person feels beyond all the problems. All the problems was past. Yes, they were past. Not only they were past, they are past. You have passed them. You have passed them. You're not going with them to the backwards. From now onwards, I will not go backwards to the past. I'll pass the past. I'll go past the past and never walk towards that direction and walk free of the past. And that means you're present. You're fully aware. You're fully, you're complete. You become whole. You become healed. You become wholesome. Only when you're wholesome, then you have the power to be good. You have the power to be generous. You have the power to be tolerant. You have the power to be kind. and you can decide for the right reasons you're kind. Your right reasons you're forgiving. The right reasons you're generous. Previously, a person has the power to be mean and angry and stubborn and very slandering language. This person has all the power of the negative stuff. Now, person who meditates has completely overhauled themselves, almost like they have gained the sight and sound and all the senses back. They have become sane. And we call in Buddhism awakened one. Person is not awake. Now he's not sleeping in our unawareness. Now he's awake. And that awakening is knowledge, really, a knowledge. The inner knowledge. That's not none of these things you can go and learn from external places. You have to learn from your own self. When you learn this from your own self, it empowers you in a way that all the past difficulties, however many lists of you have them, they become all objects of pity and compassion and sadness. You can forgive all the other people, however many things you believe they have wronged you. They're all pardonable. You've been trapped with them since then. How long is life long? How long is keeping this suffering going on? They should be stopped as soon as possible. Why it has not been intervened until now? And so you empower yourself to forgive and pardon other people, and empower yourself to choose to be kind, then not kind, choose to be tolerant, then not tolerant, and all of a sudden your wholesome qualities just burst through your action, through your body, through your speech, through your mind, most important through your mind. Your mind has been crystally clarified. It's almost like you send your mind somewhere and it comes beautifully overhauled. I mean, you wouldn't mind sending that to a laboratory, wouldn't you? Yeah. If your mind could be sent somewhere and come back clever, and come back wise, and come back compassionate, you will send that. People are really good at sending their mind away. Now, one thing about that is you don't even have to send the mind. You just sit with yourself. If you sit and find yourself doing meditation regularly, you don't even have to send and wait your mind when it's going to come back. You have that sense of sanity and a wholesomeness. All of a sudden, it's almost like you become a light. We call Buddha becoming awake, we call enlightenment. You're slowly lit from within. Enlightened. It's an active verb. You have to enlighten yourself, not darken yourself by walking towards the darkness. But when you have faith, when you have mindfulness, when you have the right effort, when you have meditation and wisdom, you're walking towards light. Never mind the darkness where you have been standing for some time. From here onwards, you should walk towards light. You can tell whether you have walked extra mile or extra step towards light or not, because your attitude towards the other people previously angry with, you feel sad to them. You feel sorry for yourself. Now you have a resolution to practice kindness to them. You feel like pardoning them. You feel that all the things have passed and you're no longer part of that. And you have brand new day, brand new month is coming, brand new week is coming, brand new day will come, and brand new you will rise with you in the morning. And when you have that kind of sense of self-empowerment, there is no single day that is dull. You will firmly empower yourself in no time in learning how to develop these five-fold powers, attributes for power. And actually, there are no time people are not trying, but they usually do not get correct information. They get only half-true, half-baked information. And when you become when you're able to access the right knowledge, correct, valid knowledge, to cultivate these five powers, you straight away will consider what you might do to bring in your life the discipline of mindfulness. Mindfulness is meditation. Mindfulness is attention, meaning how can you carefully pay attention to your need. If somebody is caring to you, you feel loved. Now, that's only when they're able to, you know. But when you find yourself caring to you, we should be quite constant. You should be delighted. Now you don't have to wait for this drizzle and dribble of the kindness, caring of other people. You can continuously practice caring towards you, unless you feel a little stingy even towards yourself. You straight away now, from now onwards, you start practicing caring to you. And the good thing about body language and meditation, you'll find your hands held by your other hand. That's nice, isn't it? Yes. If someone loves you, and you love him, you love yourself. And when you do that, you'll attract all love. All there is in the love in the world. It is this person who needs love himself. And he has taken a long time knowing how to do that. From now onwards, there shall be no flipping thoughts or no taking a long time to love oneself. No. And then, good thing about that is, as you start to love, as you start to be gentle and caring and non-judgmental towards yourself, all of a sudden, you're doing that with others. Because others are only image of ourselves. No wonder why we didn't used to find easy to love others, because we never loved ourselves in a way that we should love. Now that we're beginning to do that, everybody is now a reflection. Remember the mirror I was talking about? Now when you see yourself in the other, what you see in the other is one yourself. Yourself in the other. When they are shouting, when they're losing temper, you can feel, oh, there's another one of me. Two is too much. Two is too much. One will do. And then comes the wisdom, then comes the compassion, then comes the tolerance, then comes the mindfulness, then comes the joyful right effort. And then you have faith that playing the kind and tolerant and maybe sometimes weak position is always better than trying to play the powerful one. That's empowering yourself. And others too, they will be the beneficiary of that goodwill. They will be the benefit. You will be happy if you did once. You will be happy for a few days. Oh, I'm so impressed. You can walk down the road and say, how did you do that? How very impressed with you. And you will say to yourself, yeah, no, I'm amazed too. All of a sudden, there's a lot of self-approval going on. That's called empower yourself. You don't need that. There's no neediness to impress other people. There's no neediness for other people to love you. There's no neediness that other people have to be kind to you. Oh, when you can be kind to yourself. So much quicker. So much quicker. There's no neediness for someone else to take you out when you can go out yourself. Very good. Go to the restaurant, have a good treat to yourself. Just sit, ask for table for one. Complete one, please. Don't have to face towards other people or whatever. Just yourself. Table for one. Empower yourself. Then you can see, what do you like to have today? Then you would like to treat yourself nicely, won't you? Yes, you will start looking after yourself. And you will not be waiting miserably some other people to do this to you, take you away, do this for you. That's ridiculous. How can we get inside their head and make them do when it took years for us to get in our own head? No, it will be a difficult task to get in other people's head and persuade them to do all wonderful things to us that they can't do even for themselves. So, that's why in Buddha said, you are your own master. Follow no one. In many ways, this is a bit dangerous quote because but if you really understand what we're referring to, a lot of the time we're not listening to our heart. And if we listen to our heart, it's as good as anybody. The wisdom is in everybody, only we need listening. And we don't listen, we only hear what we listen to. When you listen to your own sincere, pure, kind heart, there's amazing ability. So you don't have to wait someone else to forgive, apologize you to make friends again, You just, unless he does something, I won't do it. You said this week, you said last week, you said last year, and it's been going on years. But you will waste no time anymore. There's all lost time. No more time shall be lost from here onwards. You shall start forgiving, dedicating such as tonight for those people. I shall empower myself to be positive and understand those problems with compassion. Not misunderstand those problems. And with anger and sadness and resentment, I shall understand how both did not know what they were doing. Thus far. Now I know what I should know how to do. I will not stay like that. Let this be beginning of peace for all those people connected with me. And when you do that, it's very good to make up that mind. And empowering means how intelligently your mind hears you, solicit the right attitude from you, and you are able to give that to yourself, and all of a sudden you have this amazing, you are not just a person, you are almost like similar to some what we call God, light. You are light. You can tell whether you're light, whether you have become light or not. Wherever you go, when you have this kind of right attitude, around you, you can influence 2 people, 3 people. That's enough. You don't influence too many people. It's a bit hard, dangerous for your ego. Influence one person first. That's yourself. And then influence someone else if they take it, if they're ready. They may not be ready, you see, they're pretty stubborn. You know, so the help that they can't take from you, just respect them. I respect your stupidity. I used to be like that. 2 years for me. I'll give you some years. You see? So you don't be too pushy just because you're nice. You have become kind. You don't expect other people to turn like that. It takes time for them. Give them time. No matter how, be that your children, be that your husband, it takes time for them. They have to make up the mind that you took long time to take. You know. So give them some time and be gentle with them. And then there's an amazing sense of friendship happening between you and them. When you are not only your friend, but you have influence to make others their friend, of course, they are each other. So, I think I'll take some questions. Do you have some questions? If you have, won't be very long.
We have lots of questions and they're all really good questions. So, one question is, how do you generate joyous effort in children?
In children?
Yes.
Well, children or loved ones that are around us is very much often reflection of ourselves. But at the same time, children have their own karma, their own destiny, what their past may bring towards them. Like we were talking about, it will take time for them to be the things we want them to. We can't force them too much, so much so that they will become this and so quickly. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't offer positive influence to them. If children are very much influenced by environment and the kind of language people you use, people are happy and joyful, giving and caring and sharing, children will do that, follow that so very quickly. It's a habit, it's usually learned from someone. If we adults practice that between each other more carefully, knowing that presence of children actually helps even the adult person to behave differently, knowing that children might be learning from that. And all of a sudden they realize they got little inspector there. You know. All the little inspectors help you to contain yourself sometimes. So definitely, if parents find children's amazing, because if you are just with somebody else, if you have certain difficulty between each other, most people don't hesitate saying what they think and expressing the feeling they feel. But there's a third person next to them, straight away think, oh, should I see this? You know, people always examine the appropriateness of saying that because there's somebody else. If particularly the young ones, the one's own children, one realizes that it will influence them very much, and that's why it is important to. Of course, we can't anoint gladness and joyfulness to children that we do not have. But children have their own beauty and their own karma. Some become completely unaffected by the negativity of parents, and children become very positive. That's their karma. Others are very, very vulnerable. They're completely like the parents, you know, because they have been strongly influenced by the way the people, parents and surrounding people have affected them, and they seem to be very much influenced by that. So we, of course, should try give out to our children whatever we can best offer, but knowing that they too have their own karma and destiny, that they'll change in their own time, they'll become good in their own time, they'll go through the difficulties for a reason that they will best understand and learn to surmount. In many ways, parents can try what we call over-application, try too hard to have the way we want the children to be, and that often becomes the recipe for disaster. What we become control. They end up controlling children instead of caring them gently and letting them grow in the caring environment. When they try to control forcibly, then the children become a cause of resentment between the parent and children. and parents feel betrayed by the children not doing exactly what they want. They try to enforce too much power, and in the end, it becomes cause of their own aversion for the rest of their life. So over-application is dangerous, even if you apply all the caring things. If you have 3 children, they'll all have different karma. No matter what, you equally give compassion and generosity, caring, giving to them. But you can see how all the children grow differently. They have their own karma. That's what Buddhists believe. You should allow whatever you can contribute positive things to your children and whoever, but also let them know that they are themselves. They are not your possessions, and they will have their own karma. It's not something you can control. And you can't even control your life. How could you control the children's karma? This doesn't mean you shouldn't make valid positive contribution and try best you can. Of course, everybody will and everybody has. But don't become possessive of what you have given to the children, and let them be for wherever they take it. And when you become that, then we end up controlling children instead of giving them the memory they have been loved and cared. They feel this is the dad who controlled me. I don't want to go near him. And when children have a resentment towards parents, to the extent they don't want to go near them, it's because parents have exercised too much control, and which hasn't been received very well. And then, of course, that wouldn't be a joyous effort. That would be a difficult effort.
How do I trust the joy in my life when I know it is right in front of me, but I don't seem to be able to let myself feel it?
Well, I suppose joy is a self-appreciation. It's being able to focus mind one-pointedly on the positive things, real positive things. They're not big, but they're really very real. And for instance, you live in a very beautiful country. There is among over 200 countries, is one of the ranked maybe the 10 most wealthy and democratic and very well system that looks after the well-being of people, freedom of religion, freedom of movement. And when you try to, it's simple things like that person need to look at and see, oh yeah, that's right, I live in a wonderful country. You just think like that, and then you have a joy. You know, that joy is appreciation and a gratitude. And joy comes from making positive comparisons. One has to be positive to see where one is in comparison to where many people are not. And then one doesn't have time to think where I'm not. You always see where you are. And being able to see and appreciate what we have. Contentment means being able to see what we have is more important rather than wanting more things, thinking that one might find more joy by getting those things. Fame, reputation, power, prestige, these things are not called joy. Joy does not come from things. Joy comes from what we have. Okay.
One feels one's job is not good for one's spiritual development and one is finding it difficult to give joyous effort, should one stay and try to develop joyous effort or hate to leave?
Well, sometimes we might find our particular things we do is not as good as we like to be. It always looks what other people do is better than what we are doing. But it is important if one's nature of job is not very, very beneficial to others, not directly helping anybody, it's a monotonous, it doesn't really, then probably it's not a big thing to try to see the possibility of making a gentle shift to slightly move into, because most people, even though they may start with a job that is difficult, but when they put the right effort in that, they slowly move. Not necessarily having to stay in the same job, but they may stay in some different areas of the work area. So I think that main thing comes from contentment. And if one is resenting and one is hating, definitely it's not the job. that is bad. It's one's hating that is making the job bad. So it is important that one has to understand one's attitude is making one's time and the nature of the work look very untenable because of one's own attitude. If one thinks one has to change it, this is like people in relationship. They think they should separate. They should divorce the other person. And they do. They separate, divorce from the other person, and they leave the other person. But they never knew the real thing they should be divorcing from is the attitude of their own negative attitude. And they never separated from that. So even though they left people or job or work or whatever, but they never left the wrong attitude. Because they didn't left the wrong attitude, then it doesn't matter how many times you change job, how many times you change relationship, one is still stuck because the very culture of the suffering of lack of happiness is kept going. And one who doesn't recognize that doesn't have the power of wisdom, doesn't have the power of meditation, doesn't have the power of joyous effort for sure. And that's why it is important that sometimes we do change jobs, sometimes we do change the circumstances of life, but knowing that with the parting from that job and place, we have to part our hatred, we have to part our aversion and anger and blaming. Unless we part them also, symbolically speaking, there is no benefit in moving physically from one job or one place to other. Sometimes it might give us temporary relief, how nice it is to not be working there. But then they didn't realize that that the very culture of the suffering is one has smuggled in. The very culture of the suffering is one has smuggled in through the new job. Then even in the new job, one is feeling the same thing, and then this time is another person. Yes. Because one has smuggled the drug. The Australians are good at smuggling drugs, isn't it? As everybody else is. Particularly put in Bali and here, don't smuggle those wrong stuff which are cause of suffering, even if you're leaving your partners. Leave those things with those difficult partners. Ask them to keep my bad attitude with you, okay? I'm going out of this house. I'm not just living by myself, but also the old wrong attitude I have with you. If they can do that, it will be a nice, clean separation. There's lots of messy separation. And then people carry that mess with them wherever they go. Even though they are not with the person, but their attitude is still with them, and that makes it hard. One more?
Okay. I thought this was an interesting question for Kalman. Do you understand why Mahatma Gandhi stated that he should smile at his assassin? Apparently he suspected that he would be assassinated.
Well, if you can be accurate in knowing that someone is going to kill you, and it would be better that you smile at them than growl at them, of course, it will be very good to be able to do that. That's why probably he earned the title Mahatma. Mahatma Gandhi's title Mahatma was not really given to him until he died. You see, so when he was alive, he wasn't called Mahatma. Mahatma means great soul. He didn't have the title Mahatma. People only become holy when they die. So he was called Mahatma. Maybe that's because he died in that right attitude, But of course, most of the time when we are able to, smile could be very deceptive, too, Smile could be very deceptive too. One has to be genuine, I suppose, greatness of the soul is when someone is angry and ruthless and harmful to you, you feel sorry for them, and not to exacerbate their anger, their aggression to you or to anybody. With that, if your smiling would appease them and to reduce their aggression, of course that would not go astray to be able to do that. But a lot of people have smiled wrongly and they got it shocked. So I wouldn't be surprised if he smiled too quickly. So that's you see, Mahatma Gandhi, last mistake, he smiled too quickly and he got shot. You see, you shouldn't be sarcastic, you see. You shouldn't be sarcastic to even to an enemy, you know. Somebody's pointing a gun at you, smile at them. That's a disaster. Yes. So we'll finish here with this question. Thank you very much.